Cultivating certain business skills can help you thrive in your work environment. We've invited Thato Mabelane, who will guide us through the skills that we need to embrace this process and to flourish in every aspect of our lives. Thato, it is always a delight having you on the show. I love having you here, so thank you for being back.
Thank you so much for having me again.
Before we start, I believe that congratulations are in order because you have a book that's coming out.
Yes.
Please tell us more about that.
Yes, thank you so much. So I wrote a book titled For the Record You Can, basically it's a self-help book or a memoir. I wrote it because life has thrown quite a big watermelons in my path. And in the book, I teach others, or I just basically teach people on how to approach or what approaches I've taken, in the face of death, literally.
Okay.
So I've been super blessed because in my spare time for the past 10 years, I've entered into a journey of comedy, where comedy actually teaches you how to face death. So basically, we use that term death when we perform, and if the audience doesn't like what you were saying or they don't get your jokes, then we say you've died.
Okay.
So I've had that practice over 10 years. And in 2015, I rowed across the Atlantic Ocean where I faced death, literally. We were attacked by a great white shark, and we were almost taken out by super tankers. So death has been something in my path.
Are these the watermelons that you talk about? Is that the analogy?
That's the analogy of the watermelons.
Okay.
And then in 2020, after the year that we had with COVID, at the end of that year, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. So like death again in my path. And in my book, I just show people how you can approach difficult situations. And what I basically do, I deep dive into meditation.
Okay.
And I teach people about the practical benefits of meditating. Because when you meditate, you're actually connecting with your source and you know how much you are supported. And the book speaks a lot about surrender. Because when you are faced with death, like as a human being, like what can you actually do?
How do we take that into the workplace and become a better listener, a better receiver of information so that we can truly thrive and live in the moment?
Yeah, so I would go back to meditation. So when you meditate, it actually helps you sort of shut down the noise because there's so much sensory noise. For example, there's Instagram, there's TikTok, there's kids that need to go to soccer practice. So there's a lot of information that's required for us to process. But when you meditate, you are able to then slow down and actually get into a cocoon of who you are. So it basically recharges you. And when you are recharged, then you can thrive. Then you don't have that many things in your head that are taking up your time because you've found the time to actually go in and connect to source and connect to yourself.
Thato, when we speak about negotiation in the workspace, how does one tackle that effectively so that you get what you want and you also don't feel like you are not meeting demands?
So negotiation is basically a balance between what you desire and what the external sort of demands are.
Yeah.
So when you like the pro tip to negotiate is to be able to have a compromise. So coming into a negotiation, you'd go, okay, this is my first prize. If I get this will be a first prize, but I might have to sort of sacrifice something else. So it's always about like just taking that balance of what's your goal and what is realistically can be achieved.
So would you say then you should go into a negotiation without an expectation or with an expectation?
With an expectation, because then it sort of guides you to where you want to end and then what would be that first prize.
Yeah.
And then if if you get that right, then the rest is sort of like nice to have.
What's your take on intention? So setting an intention for that negotiation process.
So that would be your goal, right? The intention. To say, for example, let's say you're coming into a negotiation and you want bonuses for your team and you've been given 10%, but you want 12%. So the compromise would be, okay, cool, I can maybe go for 11%. You're still getting you're still getting a percentage, but you're not getting what you wanted.
Yes.
It's sort of like a guidance.
Yes.
The intention is a guide.
You're someone that speaks so beautifully to bring in the creative process into the working environment, which is truly unique and special. How does someone like yourself that has this, you've got this business acumen, but you've also got this huge creative side and this emotional intelligence side to you. How do you bring that into the workspace? Because sometimes one can feel isolated if you're, if you're seen as just a creative
Sure.
or just a business person. How do we merge that two and feel comfortable?
I come from a background of working with like scientists. So I worked for the CSR for a very long time. So as we know, like scientists and engineers are like A personalities. They're very analytical. So I've had to find ways in which to get their buy-in for my processes by being creative. So I'd have to like almost like perform in order for me to get across to them in terms of what I need. For example, like there'd be a policy that would need to be passed, and they would not really take that seriously because engineers don't really take HR seriously. And then I'd have to find creative ways in which to sell that policy to them. So I would say I'm very fortunate because of my background that I'd learned those things, those skills. Yeah.
What advice would you give to, to someone close to you that wants to emulate the way you do things successfully?
I would say understanding your clients, so understanding what their needs are, and understanding obviously what the business is trying to bring across, and then in between those things, find creative ways in which to get buy-in to your clients. Because mostly in my career in human resources, we are seen as a bad cop because we sort of the bearers of the policies and the practices of the organization, and people don't really like rules.
Yeah.
So you have to find ways in which to be creative in selling those rules and getting buy-in for those rules.
I like that.
Yeah, so just getting to know your clients on a personal level and getting their trust. And once you get that, then you can bring in the policies.
Yes, I like that. So you're not a bad cop. So what you're saying is, find your ways to bring your creativity in, critically think and be authentic.
Yes.
As always, it's a pleasure to have you on set. Thank you so much. And we look forward to your book. For the record,
you can.
You can.
Yeah.
For the record, you can.
You can, yeah.
We hope you've enjoyed this conversation and that it encourages you to take that next step forward into your personal growth. We will see you after the break.